If we cut him, he gon' bleed a lot. We the Israelites, the ones you always read about. Scriptures heavy as a semen block. We the righteous nightmares on the Edom block. If we cut him, he gon' bleed a lot. We the Israelites, the ones you always read about. Scriptures heavy as a semen block. We the righteous nightmares on the Edom block.
I love the book of Obadiah, he killing Esau. Fight up his heart, put him in chains, and that's all he saw. Ain't no going back and forth, this ain't no seesaw. Them chairs coming from the sky, and he gon' see y'all. All praises to Yahweh, Babylon gon' burn. Hopefully I did enough for my spot, it was earned. Every day we hit the streets so our people can learn. Teaching the truth about this life that our nation deserve. Set a nigga up with scriptures, it ain't no debate. I'm living life and it's true, why these niggas be fake? It be funny when it's...
So what about the fact Native Americans have been in North America for about 10,000 years? Israel is less than 3,000 years.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. How do you know they've been here 10,000 years?
Based off of the remnants of the stuff they have left behind, like their abandoned civilizations and
well, how do you prove it's 10,000 years old though? Right, that's what I was going to ask. How do you know it's
carbon dating?
I knew he was going to say that.
Yeah.
Carbon dating is a flawed science. Absolutely.
Well,
it's a flawed science. How do you radiocarbon date? How do you do that?
You look at the isotope of a certain
deterioration of carbon.
Two main types of carbon. One of them is only made in living things, right? Or it's replenished in living things, and as soon as that thing dies, that carbon starts to every
50 years.
Yeah, so often it halves its dosage. It halves its dosage.
50. Yeah, 50 years.
Yeah. So that is generally.
You have to know how much carbon's in the air at that time to know where it decreases from, right or wrong.
Well, you have to know how much carbon was in it at the point where it died.
Exactly. Right.
Then,
exactly. So then it's impossible to know that. How do you know how much carbon was in the atmosphere 10,000 years ago?
Based on the ice cores that they find, where they drill down and there's like pristine ice. They can go through
ice?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the sediment.
Yeah,
sediment is another way to dictate time, but that's not carbonated.
Yeah, so anywhere where there's ice, like that has been undisturbed for a long time, you can drill.
You're talking about physical ice?
Yeah, physical deep, thick ice. You can drill and get a core sample, and then you can go through it and you can see what the atmosphere was like by what was in the ice at the time. Sorry.
But where can we find that at?
Antarctica.
Exactly.
Canada.
We're talking about America. Where's the ice at in America we can do that type of science at?
I mean, well, anyways, I'm not going to argue the carbon. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not qualified.
He's saying that Native Americans were here 10,000 years ago. What type of science did you say? The ice? What type of science is that? Where you dig into ice? Where's that at?
Oh, that's all. Anywhere like Antarctica or Canada or the Arctic Circle or
Were Native Americans there?
No. I'm just talking about you saying, how do you know what was in the atmosphere? That's
carbon.
Yeah, that's how you know how much.
But we're saying that in America, though. How can we find that in America? Because there's no ice in America.
It would be the atmosphere would be worldwide.
And that's not the topic. We're talking about in America. Because you're saying Native Americans were here 10,000 years ago, and Israel's only been here for 3,000 years, which is not true either. Israel started, I would say, nation over 3,000 years, 3,500 years.
Yeah, probably 30. Yeah.
So I believe the Earth is only less than 12,000 years old.
Okay, number of creationists.
Less than 6,000 after the flood.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're of that, if you're a Bible literalist, then.
Well, no, it's science. It believes in science.
Oh.
Because you know the flood happened, right? You believe the flood happened? Biblically?
I believe that the area that it happened, the local flood, but.
So you're the camp that believes that was just local?
Yeah, I don't believe.
It was a local event?
I mean.
You believe Pangea?
Pangea?
Yeah,
like
Pangea.
One continent?
Yeah, that's what was happening at that time. That's before the land split.
Oh, that. Yeah.
So if you want to say it's local flood, that's still the whole Earth.
Oh, if you're saying it was during Pangea, then.
Yeah, that's what I believe. That's what we believe. That's what the Bible says too.
Yeah, it could be.
And we've got to take into account too that all these civilizations today, they all have story about a flood.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Which is echoes of the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? When we talk about the Sumerian
That's
tablets,
that's where it
the
originally came.
Akkadian, even the Mayan, or I think even the Chinese have. But see, we have the belief that everyone was at a certain location before and then went out. You know what I mean? And created civilizations elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? But to say that the Native Americans were here hundreds of thousands of years or 10,000 of years, like how are we going to use what dating mechanism? Carbon dating. Okay, great. Carbon dating can be flawed, absolutely flawed,
It can be.
because we're taking into account on how carbon decays after its half-life today, right? Cool, bam. But we don't know exactly how much carbon was in the atmosphere, or how much carbon was at that time when that living organism dies and we find it later, or how much carbon was added into the ground. Fires cause carbon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly how carbon. We know how carbon behaves today.
Yeah.
Right. And this is how carbon dating is established, because we can watch the carbon molecule decay every half-life.
Sure, it could be wrong, but like that's just our best. Science is just our best guess at the time based on the evidence. It's not saying that anything's for sure or proven or the final.
What are they measuring though?
They're measuring.
Yeah, like when they find something in the dirt,
Yeah.
what are they measuring to say, okay, this is 10,000 years old? Is it an artifact? Is it a piece of wall, or is it some type of?
Generally, it would be everything. You can take all the different pieces of evidence that you can find, and when they all point at the same answer or in the same direction, then you become more confident in your answer.
Well, what did they find though? Can you give an example of what they found?
Like
You're saying 2,000 years old, but
human bones. Human bones.
Well, that's the worst evidence you can have.
Or say like their litter piles. They're called like litter mittens, where they throw all their shells or all the stuff, all the food they ate, and all their trash. Finding out how old the stuff they ate was.
Refuse.
Yeah. Or like there's a whole variety. I mean, I'm not an archaeologist, so I'm not as qualified to speak on it as like someone who's an expert.
But we're just saying, think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Think critically about it, because we're saying that the carbon dating system is flawed, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm open to anything.
Now, like, I don't know if you knew this. Like, to carbon date something, you have to find organic material.
Yeah,
because you can't date a rock. Exactly, right? And going back to my point that we can only measure carbon dating on how carbon behaves today. You know what I mean?
They got other techniques for other things, but I'm no expert in them, so I really couldn't speak on them without looking. I don't like to say something unless I know what I'm talking about.
That's good. Everybody should be like that, but unfortunately, we got a lot of people that are pretty much intellectually dishonest or indoctrinated. You know what I mean? And that's a big problem. As a matter of fact, let me go get my book.
Yeah, I wanted to say this because you're saying. Well, I just want to re-ask the question or clarify. You're saying that the Native Americans, their civilizations from North, Central, South America, at one point in time, are at least 10,000 years old.
Yeah, well, they believe what they say is that about 10,000 years ago, when the last ice age ended, they came over the ice bridge from the
Bering Strait?
Yeah, exactly.
You over the Bering Strait?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what they say.
Scientists, not the indigenous.
The mainstream science and archaeology says that they came over a land bridge. Although they have found something recently saying that Polynesians might have got here first or something. They found something like that.
No, the Polynesian thing, that's a very interesting thing, right? Because they found yams, right? This is a big thing, bro. Like in academia, the sweet potato theory. How did they get it over there? You know what I mean?
Where?
In Polynesia.
Samoan,
yeah, because it's not indigenous there. It's indigenous to the Americans. It could have been exchanged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's not to say that they.
Because it was maritime traveling.
Yeah, they were maritime travel, and they're great maritime travelers.
Maritime travelers.
For what they working with, they're
them,
great.
the Canaanites. Native Americans, for sure. I got books on Native Americans.
Now, yeah, the Canaanites and the Phoenicians, great maritime.
Oh yeah, the Phoenicians.
But when we're talking about the Polynesians, have you seen their boats?
Yeah,
They're kind of small, bro. They're small, and they got a small
They
size.
survive hurricanes by like sinking the boat a little bit, so it's already underwater. And then the hurricane comes down.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
They're great.
All the animals they need, and all the plants and seeds like in their cargo to start an island. They have everything they need.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Civilization, a boat. Yeah.
But yeah, what was you gonna read? I got some archaeology for you to prove that indigenous people think. First of all, let me touch on the Bering Strait. You know, Catholic friars made that up.
Remember that?
Yeah, they made that up. And you said the Ice Age was 10,000 years ago?
When it was ending, like they said that about 12,000, 10,000 years when we were at the tail end of the last Ice Age, what they say.
So let's just go with that. So you mean to tell me that however many people that came across Bering Strait, because you know Russia it's a frozen tundra.
Yeah, that's like Siberia.
Yeah, 20 below. You think they survived that? Women and children with no food.
Apparently, that's what it was like everywhere. It was
No, but we're talking about frozen tundra. We're talking about a mass migration. We're talking about women and children.
Yeah.
People that need to walk and on their way find food.
Yeah.
But since it's a frozen
They say
tundra,
that they
there's
followed-
no fauna.
They say that they followed the mammoth herds across. That's their claim. That there's mammoth herds were walking across that. But they followed them on accident or whatever and got to America.
But how would they
say warm?
not only
Well, I mean,
staying warm?
they say humanity survived about.
Listen,
a
just
long
staying
time.
warm
Oh yeah.
is a problem, right?
Yeah.
But when we're talking about mass migration, you can't carry water with you. Water is like the craziest thing.
Oh, you melt
It's stupid heavy. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
freeze.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
you
freeze
melt
in that
snow.
temperature. There's no fauna, there's no animals. There's no animals, there's no food. So how can a mass migration happen?
I don't know that there's no animals. I mean,
There were no animals. You said the mammoth had to eat too.
yeah.
Mammoth got to drink water.
When they migrate,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
They're
saying?
just like technically elephants.
I don't know that there's no fully.
The elephant got to eat a certain amount of pounds of food per day
Oh, yeah.
and drink a amount of water per day.
Yeah, for
Gallons of water.
sure. That's
So
what they say.
They would die.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that.
And that's why we can't agree with that.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's still that temperature over there right now, right? 20, 30 below, 40 below.
Yeah,
right
it's
now?
cold, it's cold. Yeah.
Are people living over there today?
Eskimos.
Eskimos are in Alaska for the most part, but not.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, of course, the temperature can drop. Like the show Zero Below or Below Zero, whatever it is to be.
Yeah.
That's a real show, but that's a select group of people that know how to maintain and survive that. Not hundreds of thousands of people.
I mean, I don't know enough about. I'm not.
You say the Eskimos, you say the Inuit, right?
Yeah, Inuit.
Because the Inuit, we have evidence that they're in Greenland. We have evidence that they're in Alaska, and there even points that there's some across the waters, which is us still too on the Russian side also. You know what I mean?
I know that they're in Greenland for sure because the Vikings wrote about them, seeing them there.
Yeah. But they're still there today. Like the communities are there today. But to say that there was a mass migration from there to here,
Yeah, I don't know.
and we only have the little points over there. Don't you think there was migration from here to there instead of from there?
Yeah, I'm not the expert on it, so I wouldn't know. That's just what they say. So.
And that's the thing about what they
And that's
say.
what we can't get down with that.
So like
I'm gonna show you the archaeology later. After this.
So in 1987, there was a big thing called it was pretty much the very first Zionist pretty much Congress that happened, right? And there was the minutes, and stenographer recorded everything.
Yeah.
Now they were laying out a plan on how to go about world domination. So they had to lay down a lot of things: domination, who are they going to pick for administering information, all this, right? Media, all this. This has happened, and we found those documents, right? So, Protocol 2 deals with that, right, perfectly, which is crazy, and a lot of people just don't grasp this. So Protocol 2 says it is indispensable for our purpose that wars, so far as possible, should not result in territorial gains. War will thus be brought onto the economic ground where nations will not fail to receive in assistance. We give the strength of our predominance. Right? Let me get down to the point. The administrators whom we shall choose from among the public, with strict regard to the capacities for servile obedience, will not be persons trained in the arts of government, and will therefore easily become pawns in our game in hands of men of learning and genius, who will be their advisors, their handlers, specialists reared from early childhood to rule the affairs of the whole world. As it is well known to you, these specialists of ours have been drawn to fit them for rule the information they need for our political power or plans from lessons of history, from observations made from the events every moment as it passes. The Goyim, which they call us the Goyim, right? Which these are imposter Jews, those are not the real Jews. The Goyim are not guided by practical use of unprejudiced historical observation, but by theoretical routine without any critical regard for consequent results. We need not, therefore, take any account of them. Let them amuse themselves until the hour strikes, or live on hopes of new forms of enterprising pastime, or on memories of all they have enjoyed. That's why social media is so big right now. Everybody's always trying to create memories, posting pictures and all that, right? For them, let that play the principal part which we have persuaded them to accept as dictates of science theory. It is with this object in view that we constantly, by means of our press, they saying, arousing blind confidence in these theories. These intellectuals of the Goyim will puff themselves up with their knowledge with any logical verification of them, will put into effect all information available from science, which our agentur specialists has cunningly pieced together for the purpose of educating their minds. Do not suppose for a moment that these statements are empty words. Think carefully of the success we arrange for Darwinism, Marxism, Nietzscheism. All that came from them, right?
Where did this document?
This is called the okay. The book is called The Synagogue of Satan. This book was taken down from Amazon and all American bookstores. I had to contact the actual publisher in the UK, right? So in this book, we find a document that's called the Minutes of the First Zionist Congress, and it's called the Protocols of the Meetings of the Learned Elders of Zion.
And has that been confirmed to be valid?
It's been confirmed. A lot of people are trying to push back on it, saying that it's anti-Semitism. You know what I mean? Or anti-Semitism pogroms.
That's what they say.
Everything's anti-Semitism.
Anything that exposes the truth for them.
That's what they fall back on.
And that's the thing. Like, that's their trump card when you want to corner them. You're being anti-Semitic. You're being anti-Semitic right now.
Yeah, but you know,
when you're critical about them, you're anti-Semitic.
They're like not even really Semitic. Semitic people.
No, they're Semitic.
That also includes the Palestinians too. There's
Arabs.
Yeah, exactly.
Persians.
You're Semitic.
You're Semitic. You just descend from another nationhood, right? Okay, good. So let me get back to
Semitic.
this.
They're Semitic.
Yeah. It doesn't just belong to the Jews.
Yeah, dude, they monopolize that. They monopolize that.
Yeah.
Right?
You can easily say you're anti-Semitic.
Right.
So this document, they're trying to push as anti-Semitic pogrom, right? But it's actually historical. It happened, man. Right?
That's pretty cool.
So, look, to us Jews, at any rate, it should be plain to see what disintegrating importance these directives have had upon the minds of the Goyim. It is indispensable for us to take account of the thoughts, characters, tendencies of the nations in order to avoid making slip-ups in the political and in direction of administrative affairs. The triumph of our system, which the component parts of the machinery may be vicariously disposed according to the temperament of the peoples met on our way, will fail of success in the practical application of it, be not based upon summoning up the lessons of the past of in the past light of presence. So basically, everything that's taught in schools, everything, it's pretty much theory pushed by their agents and their in provocateurs and people that they have pretty much grasps on. Because everybody got a handler, bro. You know what I mean? And these are the ones that are peddling these theories as science. You know what I mean? Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's all right there. I'm gonna get this book.
This is just one point. This thing went into this book just pretty much goes into every power play that they made since 1942, since 745 actually. The very first thing was in 745 when they talk about King Bulan and the Khazarian king choosing a religion for the nation. You know what I'm saying? And they chose the beliefs of the Torah because Well, yeah, I believe at the time they were like, yeah. I would want to say rabbinical already. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is that they chose that because they were stuck between two empires: Christendom on one side and Islam on the other side. If we pick Islam, we can't deal with trade with the Christians. With Christians, we can't deal with the Muslims. And if we pick either side, the other side will attack us, Shane. So let's go follow this, and we can still trade and deal financially with all sides. And we understand that that's all they're about, money. And then this book goes into perfectly how nasty that they use finance as a weapon throughout the whole world, man.
They've been kicked out of like 49 countries for high interest.
Yeah, that's
exactly, man.
Yeah, they call that usury.
Well, yes. The thing about it is that
technically they're allowed to do it. I mean, they're not Jews, but we're not allowed to do that to our people.
Yeah.
We would have business, we do that to you. It would be lawful, but of course, we don't have the means to even start that off. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And we got to take into account too, like the amount of usury, the amount of interest rates.
Yeah.
If you go beyond a certain point, that's actually destructive.
Yeah, that's what they were doing.
That's actually destructive.
So high that they got kicked out of a lot of countries.
And that's how they actually destroyed systems and destroyed countries. You know what I'm saying? Usury is not a bad thing. Like I'm saying, the Torah permits us to add interest on loans, but at the same time, we have to take into account on how much, because it'll be crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they destroy finances. You know what I mean? But when that time comes, there will be no other system that will be no checks and balance or nothing. You know what I'm saying? When that time comes, when the real Messiah brings out the real children of Israel back in the land, there ain't gonna be no checks and balances. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah. In reference to that, like it says it in the book too how they got rich. I think it was is that the same book in England?
Yeah.
But they basically had like 1,600% interest, and once it gets to that point, guess what? You got to put up everything for collateral.
Yeah.
That's why they own so many people. But they say, okay, well, since you can't pay us back, just do our bidding for us. That's what it turns to now.
Yeah,
your morality's done because you can't pay us back. You owe so much money.
Yeah.
We know you can't pay the money.
Indentured servitude.
Not even that. You're a politician in England or in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Trudeau's a damn puppet.
Yeah.
You think Jewish people don't got their hand over him? Of course they do. Trump is a damn puppet. Every president of America is a puppet. If you don't want to be a puppet, guess what? We're either going to kill you, finance a coup to have somebody else take over, have our puppet over there, and that's what's going to happen. You see what I'm saying? Or have another Jewish person that looks like you in power.
Yeah, and in that same situation that you were just talking about in England, they just started off with like a £5 million loan. And with the interest, it moved. And what they did after, on top of the interest, they turned around and printed more money.
To devalue the money.
To devalue that money, and they printed up another 150,000 or something pounds on top. No, 5 million, 150 million pounds behind. They printed to devalue the pound. So that interest and that debt, the initial $5 million debt, skyrocketed up to 1,600%. That crippled England.
Yeah.
And that's just England. We're not just talking, which is crazy. We try to do the compute, and this is crazy. It couldn't compute it because there's an actual software that you can compute ancient money, old money.
Yeah.
Like say, how much was $3,000 in 1864 converted? Oh no, it's just any type of money in the world. You can put, for example, how much is $15,000 in 1863? How much does it translate to 2025? Boom! It gives you the amount. We put in those numbers, and it says uncomputable. It was impossible. The software couldn't even answer that. And that's just England. These people are the devil, man.
That's right. So here's another response to your 10,000-year-old theory about the Native Americans or indigenous.
Yeah.
This is an artifact they found in New Mexico.
Oh, I think I've seen something about this.
The Los Lunar Stone.
Yeah.
You know what this is?
What's it written in?
It's Paleo-Hebrew. The indigenous people wrote this on the side of a mountain because they're Israelites. That's how it proves they're Israelites. This isn't a 10,000-year-old language. That's the point.
Yeah.
We believe they came over here 2,800 years ago.
Is it possible that there were other people here before they got here?
The Bible says differently.
Yeah.
They came to wherever mankind dwelt. Now, of course, you were talking about the Olmecs. The Olmecs lived, south of Mexico.
Yeah. Olmecs were already gone before Columbus got here. They're already...
They were
Maybe they were just stationed here on trade back and forth.
They didn't have a civilization, per se. They lived amongst the indigenous tribes, and they couldn't sustain themselves because they were not the same people. Like, we're not going to help you. Like, that's what the Olmecs were. Some people think the Olmecs were Aztecs. Like, no. We believe the Olmecs were Canaanites.
Oh, really? They believe
Phoenicians.
Yeah, we believe they were Phoenicians.
Scientists, or the archaeologists.
Academia will call them the mother of Mesoamerican civilization, but we believe otherwise. We believe that they were out here trading, going back and forth because they were Phoenicians. That was the thing, you know what I mean? And they always had a trading post out here.
Yeah, Phoenicians had trading posts all over the world.
But they didn't build a civilization.
They didn't have a civilization like a king, a ruler, a system of laws.
The only place that became like that for the Phoenicians was Carthage.
Carthage, after they got chased out of after 70 AD, of course.
Yeah.
They were the Israelites.
That was the only one. The rest of them were just trading outposts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that blew my mind when I found out that Carthage was actually Phoenicians, bro.
Half Phoenician, half Israelite.
It became the most powerful Phoenician, area in general. They even beat Rome in a war.
Yeah.
The Punic Wars?
Yeah. Punic Wars.
And then Rome destroyed them so bad they even threw salt in the soil.
They salted the earth.
Nothing would grow there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now it's Tunisia.
Yeah.
Tunisia now.
It's Tunisia. Yeah. Tunisia and parts of, I want to say a little bit in Egypt too, because Carthage was big, you know what I mean?
So this is an artifact they found in New Mexico.
That's interesting.
So it says what? The 10 Commandments discovered in America before Christ.
Yeah.
This is New Mexico, written in Paleo-Hebrew. It's the 10 Commandments. And you can look at the video on YouTube. It's a white guy going up to this exact same stone.
Yeah.
Because there's pictures all over. See what I'm saying in this book. And when you look at the dude, he's reading the Paleo-Hebrew because the Hebrew that the Jewish people speak is not this Hebrew. It's a modern Slavic Germanic Hebrew. So they made it up. It's not necessarily crazy to speak it. It's not too far off. But it's not the ancient Paleo-Hebrew that the ancient Israelites spoke.
It's a reconstructed language by, I forget his name, I'm going to look his name.
Exactly. So I'm going to read part of this. This is page 9. Finally, there was a report of the existence of a third inscription found on Hidden Mountain, which was translated by the late Dr. Robert Pfeiffer of Harvard, 1948. Isn't that crazy? 1948 is the same year that fake Jews went over there. Reading left to right, the phrase would be translated, which Pfeiffer saw fit to translate as Temple of Tony. In Hebrew means my sea serpent or sea serpents. Strong's 8565 was the Hebrew Strong's. The phrase hardly seems fit the context of the other inscriptions, and even if it is a vague reference to Kukulkan, who's that? Who's Kukulkan?
Kukulkan.
Oh, Kukulkan, yeah.
The Mayan deity.
The Mayan,
Feathered serpent among the tribes of Central America. So when you read the Bible, or if you go to the Aztecs call them what? Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
And who's that a reference of?
That's their the deity. It's like the serpent-headed.
The feathered serpent,
yeah.
And that's the only deity that didn't demand human sacrifice. right? Because we believe that it's found in the Bible too. And
yeah, we're going to read about it right now. It's Isaiah 6:1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Get the Hebrew for seraphim. See what seraphim means in Hebrew.
That's the ones that stand at the throne of God.
Yeah, they're on the throne. They're in the temple. It's a vision, of course, but let's get the Hebrew word real quick.
So seraphim, which is Hebrew H8314, Hebrew word H4313, it's seraph, right? Seraphim, the suffix makes it plural, right? So it says a serpent, a fiery serpent.
Serpent. This in this book said what, a feathered serpent. So that's how we know that the people of indigenous of Americas are Israelites. They constituted the quote unquote serpent god in their own obviously phrase and terminology, but it represents who the world called Jesus Christ in the Bible. Because when you read it, it says what? Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With 20 he covered his face, and with 20 he covered his feet, and with 20 he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the post of the door moved like the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the land, and I dwell in the midst of the people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims, the flying serpent, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken off the tongues from the altar, and he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thy iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Who takes away sins in the Bible?
Jesus.
That's where they get it from. That's how you know they wrote this, the Ten Commandments in the Americas. They came from Syria back in 700 BC, and through their training with the Phoenicians, they already knew about this place. They didn't live here, of course, but they knew about it. So instead of us being in captivity, instead of us going back to Israel, being wicked, let's just go over here by ourselves with no influence. We're not going to be influenced by other nations. We're going to come over here and try to keep the commands by ourselves. That's where you get this language from.
And look, and this is Quetzalcoatl right
They
here.
didn't leave Israel, though. They went to the wilderness. They didn't leave.
They went to the desert, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't leave the land mass for the most part. They just moved here. Go ahead.
And this is the Aztec or the Mexica people right here. And this is the image of Quetzalcoatl being crucified, spirit inside, just like Christ. See that?
How would they know to draw that picture up?
This is pre-Columbian.
He's not on a cross.
Well, he's tied up. You can see the ropes right there, right? But crucifixion just means hanging on. You know what I mean? Doesn't always have to be nailed onto something. You know what I'm saying? So not the ritual, but the act of crucifying somebody, I can just tie you up on a rope and let you die on a tree or on a post and let you die on thirst or whatever, right? Look, and he was spirit inside, just like Christ.
That's a pretty good coincidence,
right? I don't think it's coincidence. And look, this is him again, carrying the cross.
Well, that's another good coincidence.
How would they know to do that, though?
And this is people before Christ, but we're saying that they're the same Israelite people that understood the prophecies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That it was an echo in their memory. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, they started a pantheon, and sure, they started worshiping other deities and stuff, and that's what brought the curses in Deuteronomy, right? Once they start breaking God's laws and worshiping other deities, then he's going to bring the Europeans or the Spaniards onto them and to fulfill all those punishments. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the colonization and the slavery of the indigenous, that's why it all happened. You know what I mean? And this is not only it. We find other archaeological finds too. Like, I'm going to show you another one right here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Chief Joseph Stone right now.
Yeah, okay, cool.
You heard about Chief Joseph Stone?
No.
He's a Native American chief from the Nez Perce tribe. And he found what?
I got Back Creek right here too.
Back Creek, that's Hebrew too. Ancient Hebrew.
This was found in Michigan. No, well, when they found it, they were reading it upside down at first. So they're like, "Whoa, what's this inscription? What is this inscription?" When they actually turned it the right way around, it found that it's Paleo-Hebrew. Now, the runes are very similar too. Like I know what our runes are. You know what I'm saying? They're very similar, but we got to understand the way we see it, right? That everyone was neighbors at one time in the Levant, in the cradle of civilization. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It being Edomites, it being Moabites, Canaanites, whatever. You know what I mean? Then they went around across the world. You know what I mean? They started civilizations. You know what I mean? So the runes, or even the Japanese kanji, like the old ancient Japanese kanji. You know what I mean? Like I was looking at a Japanese kanji for samurai. It's really not found in the lexicon. In the whole Japanese lexicon, it's not found. The components of the kanji, it's not found in the Japanese. They had it. They have two alphabets in the Japanese. One for foreign words is called Tanakan, or I forget what it's called, and they use that alphabet for foreign names and foreign words, and they got the Japanese alphabet, the kanji, for actual Japanese language, right? So it's not found in the katakana. Katakana, that's what it's called, I think. The katakana language alphabet, Japanese alphabet, because it's still Japanese language, but they only use that for foreign words and names.
Yeah.
Samurai is not found in either of them, the components of the kanji. But you know what it does mean? Temple man. The actual word for samurai is temple man. Man attending a temple, right? And it got a Semitic root word, shamar, guardian. You know what I mean? Samurai.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just tying other civilizations, you know what I mean, on how we were all together, or even our brothers and sisters scattered throughout the four corners of the earth.
Oh, interesting theory. So you know, it'd be interesting. I'm definitely gonna do a little more research on it now that you guys have, you know, enlightened me on your viewpoints. So
Yeah. It seems like you know a little history too, though.
yeah, I don't watch like TV or movies or go on social media. I just spend my free time learning stuff.
Yeah, reading is my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyways, I gotta cut it
Right.
short for now, but
Yeah,
thank you
it's all
guys
good.
for your time.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the truth gonna be revealed in the future. America will be destroyed. That's another thing that's gonna happen. That's already prophesied in the Bible. But our main objective, like I said, is the place of our people, you know, to avoid the judgment, come out of America spiritually, mentally, and keep God's commandments so we can be righteous rulers on the earth. You know what I mean?
Whatever it is you see, I wish you luck, man.
Appreciate it,
All right,
man.
man.
Thank you guys.
All right. You can close that one.
All praise.
All praises, man.